What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Redemption with Jayden. Last weekend, I made a little bit of an impulsive decision. I guess it was a few days before last weekend that I started to decide that I wanted to do this and was like, hey, don't necessarily need to be there on Friday for work. I could take a day off. And I was looking at the schedule for tournaments that were upcoming and thinking about like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go to the regionals in the North Central region because I'm going to be busy, and then I'm gone for that whole week from basically when North Central regionals is happening to when Midwest regionals is happening. So I'm probably not going to be able to make that one either. And I was like, oh well, I might not be able to make it to a regional tournament this season. That would be kind of a bummer. And so I was looking at the schedule and I was like, hey, there's a regional tournament happening somewhere. There's actually two regional tournaments happening somewhere in the country, and so there was Northeast regionals and Southeast regionals that were both happening on the same weekend, this past weekend, and I was like, well, maybe I could go to one of those. Turns out flying into the Northeast is generally more expensive than flying to the Southeast, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick this cheap flight that I can find going to Atlanta and go over to Jeremy's for the Southeast Regional Tournament, and it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that I went, and I decided that I should just do a little. I'm going to do kind of a quick breakdown of how the tournament went, what events we played, what things we're seeing. Overall, it was a relatively small regional tournament. We had 9 players total, which is a little modest for a regional tournament, but it still had some good competition, and it was pretty fun. So I'm still glad that I went, of course, and got to catch up with some of the Southeast guys. But Brad wasn't there, Tyler wasn't there. Few names in the Southeast region that weren't able to make it. So would have been nice to be able to see those guys too, but we got to see Jeremy, we got to see Hendricks, and Chris, and a couple of guys from his play group, the Anderson brothers, and also I guess Keegan and Joshua were the other ones there. I kind of named everybody, so I might as well just finish it off. Keegan Hendricks and Jeremy's younger brother Joshua. So it was good to see those folks, and I just wanted to kind of give a little rundown of the experience. Give a little insight into the tournament happenings, and for me, it was fun, and be fun to be able to share that experience, kind of similar to what I did with Kentucky State. So yeah, Friday morning I flew down to Atlanta. I did have to, or I did end up getting a rental car. I was hoping that Tyler would be able to make it and he could swing through Atlanta and pick me up and wouldn't have to spend the money on that. But I did get a rental car. It was kind of fun. Little Nissan Altima here was fairly newish. From I don't know what year it was actually, but it seemed like it was relatively new. And I'm not gonna have pictures for everything, just for just for a few things that I was like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to document some of this. And so yeah, I got the rental. I took that first to Zaxby's here. I was on my way to Jeremy's. I had landed at like 1 o'clock Eastern time, I think, maybe Central time. I don't know. Sometime in the early afternoon. I hadn't eaten anything yet, and it was a 2-hour drive from the Atlanta airport to Jeremy's. I think I landed around noon Eastern time, but then it took like an hour or so to get to the rental place. The Atlanta airport is huge, so yeah, it ended up taking a while, and then I drove about an hour and a half before I got to Zaxby's, and I was messaging Jeremy, messaging John, say like, all right, Jeremy, are you ready for me to come over? Or like, Hendricks, if he was in the area already, like, he and I could just meet up if Jeremy was still had some things to do on the farm to get ready and whatnot. But yeah, I ended up stopping at Zaxby's to get some food. It's kind of the I don't know. I guess the closest equivalent that we have up here is Raising Cane's, which I actually had for dinner last night, a couple nights ago, I guess, from your perspective watching this on Thursday. But uh, Cane's is just so much better. I don't know. If y'all Southerners want to fight me on that, I mean, Cane's is also in the South. I think it's more like Central South, but yeah, the like I don't know. Zaxby's, like those nuggets are just see, I call them nuggets. They're not even strips. They're so small. Like Cane's has gotten a little bit smaller too, but yeah, I don't know. The cane sauce was or is definitely better than the Zax sauce in my opinion. Even though they're pretty close to the same, but yeah, maybe it's just because I'm used to it. I don't know. The fry seasoning was pretty good, so I will give it that. So if you're ever in the South and you want some chicken that's relatively decent, you can go to Zaxby's, and that's. But if you ever have a choice between Raising Cane's and Zaxby's, I'm gonna have to go with Cane's. I'd recommend that. Chick-fil-A is probably then third. Like honestly, I probably am Zaxby's over Chick-fil-A. So I know for some of you those might be fighting words, but here we are. Um, yeah. So anyway, I had about a half hour left on my trip to get to Jeremy's, and I was actually kind of surprised when I opened up the GPS and saw that I had two options to get there, like two ways that were pretty much equal in distance to to get to Jeremy's from the Zaxby's, and so I was like, you know what, I gotta take a screenshot of that because I was like, Jeremy's place is in the middle of nowhere. I have two options to get there. Wow, that's pretty like, and they only are overlap for a pretty small amount of it. And then also you can see that the Georgia state line, Georgia Alabama state line is right here. That was another thing that was kind of surprising as I was driving to Jeremy's, and I was like, wait, when is the time going to change, or when am I going to hit Alabama? And it was like 10 or 15 minutes left in the drive when I finally hit Alabama. Didn't realize he was that close to the border. But anyway, I got to Jeremy's. He and I just brought in my stuff, and then we knew that Hendrix was already in the area. He and Keegan had gone to again, the arcade that's in Center, Alabama, which is the closest town to Jeremy's place. And Jeremy and I got in the car and met up with the Hendrixes there, and just a couple fun things. Hendrix tried to win me some mushroom or shark or something, I don't know, from this claw machine. He took at least, I want to say 7 tries and didn't get it. So I don't know. Hendrix got to step up your claw game. Maybe it was just all the pressure. He probably would have gotten it eventually. But and then I also thought it was pretty funny that they had a Minnesota Timberwolves basketball thing, and this was the day after the Timberwolves got knocked out of the playoffs, sadly, by the Mavericks. And so yeah, it was kind of rubbing it in a little bit because it seemed like the Timberwolves one wasn't working. I don't know if they just like unplugged it for solidarity or something, or just because they felt bad. They didn't want anyone to have to use the Timberwolves one there. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently, I mean, Alabama. I don't think they have a pro basketball team, but Anthony Edwards is from Atlanta, so maybe there's a following. I guess I don't know. Y'all in the South can tell me if you follow Anthony Edwards because of his Atlanta roots. I don't know. It's pretty close to there in Alabama there, so who knows? But that is. That's the last of the pictures that I took, and other than my deck lists, which we'll have those up from other things here, so don't need to show you the pictures there. But that was fun. After the arcade, as we were kind of waiting for Chris and his guys to show up at Jeremy's, we were just hanging out there and playing some games and whatnot. And then we went back to Jeremy's. Chris was there, so we everybody kind of got settled in, and then we got ready to start playing. We played some booster. We did six packs. We did two Fall of Man, two Israel's Rebellion, and two Prophecies of Christ. So, and all of that with roots. So that was an interesting draft, kind of defensive. I'll show you the deck that I drafted in a moment here. But yeah, it was pretty fun. A little defensive heavy, but we were playing two players, so that kind of made for some more interesting games, I guess. I don't know. My games didn't feel like they were particularly interesting, but we'll we'll get there when we get there. After booster draft, the plan was to play Type 2 at that point, but I mean, most of us were a little bit hungry and a little bit tired and decided that that combination was, instead of playing Type 2, meant that we should go to Waffle House. And so we did. Went there, got some food. The waiter, or I guess waitress that we had, she couldn't have been more than like low 20s. Like she was, I'm mid 20s, but I'm a little bit older, I think. But she definitely, um, I don't know, talked a little bit like she was older, and I don't know if that's just like because of the southern accent or something, but she called me Hun, of course, as they do in the South, which she also called Chris Hun. So, it just felt a little bit weird, like she couldn't have been more than like college age. Just something that us Northerners have to get used to when we're down there, I guess. But yeah, Waffle House was good. Got some breakfast food. It was quite enjoyable. Then we went back. Most of us went to bed pretty much, right or shortly after we got back, and maybe hung out and talked a little bit. But we did not end up playing Type 2 at that point, so meant that the next day, Saturday, was going to be a long day. But we started out with Type 1. We had, oh, sorry, I guess I could have mentioned we had six players playing booster draft. Um, the three guys from Chris's group, and then myself, Hendrix, and Jeremy all played booster. We drafted in pos of three, and then played two player after that. So then Type 1, Saturday morning, we had eight of us played. Chris judged, and we played 4 rounds, so min plus one, which was still nice for a bigger tournament. I played the deck that I played is right down here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. As you can see, Jeremy ended up taking first place. I took second, and then Sam. I forgot to mention that Sam was there on Saturday. He was one of the. I guess I didn't even mention him at the beginning. He was one of the nine. I figured I was forgetting somebody, but yeah, Sam was not there Friday night, but he did show up on Saturday to play Type 1, and then also he and I played teams afterwards with John and Jeremy, and then the guys from Chris's group played sealed deck, and then Type 2 was after that, right at the end. So that was it turned out to be a long day, but we got a lot of categories in, or we got all the categories accounted for, and so yeah, that was pretty fun. Then afterwards, everybody else had left, but my flight wasn't until early Sunday morning, so I hung out with Jeremy a little bit. He gave me a little tour of the chicken houses and chicken farms, whatever. And I gotta say, that was the most chickens I've ever seen in one place in my, with my own eyes, I guess, not through a video or anything. But yeah, there was a lot of chickens, and then also after that we went to Jack's, which I guess is different than Jack in the Box. I don't think I'd been to Jack's before, but it was pretty good. Jeremy treated me to that, so appreciate that. Thank you, friend. And then we actually went to a game shop that was pretty new in town there, so that was kind of cool, getting to see some of the local crowd, people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and a little bit of Magic and stuff there. So that was cool, getting to Jeremy and I actually played another Type 2 game there. He beat me in the tournament game. I made a pretty silly mistake, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But then he and I went to the game shop, and we played probably definitely one of the most fun games of Type 2 I've played in recent history, I guess, that I can remember. So it was pretty fun. And I ended up being able to win that one, so that felt good at least to get one win over Jeremy throughout the weekend. So, anyways, that was pretty much everything that or the whole agenda, I guess, or like a whole uh, of or my itinerary, I guess maybe that would be a good word for it. Throughout the weekend after the game shop, I just went back to Jeremy's for a little bit just to uh, just gonna hang out for a little bit before I drove back to the airport, and I did end up driving back that night and then spending the very early morning hours at the airport, trying to get at least a little bit of sleep there, but it was a little tough. But yeah, then I flew back, and here we are. So, anyways, that is kind of the itinerary, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about some of the well, all of the decks that I played and some of the other decks that I saw at the tournament. And before we get into that, though, we're going to talk about our sponsors over at Your Turn Games because we've got some pretty exciting news from Your Turn Games and also regarding Nats. So let's take a look at that. So the newest set, Israel's Inheritance, is now available for pre-order on Your Turn Games. So you can go over here. You can just scroll down just a little bit. You can see the Israel's Inheritance boxes here designed by Doug Gray. The art here. The packs are going to be packaged in the new packaging, which is sweet. No more reusing old packaging. So that's all thanks to the fundraiser stuff. And you can just go to buy now, and you can see the options for pre-ordering Israel's Inheritance. You can just pre-order the sets. You can have like a different options for that, or you can do the booster packs and display boxes. So if you go over to the sets, you can see that you can order just the commons, you can order just the rares, you can order just the ultra rares, or you can order the complete set. And gotta be honest, I'm not positive if, oh yeah, I guess yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, so commons, rares, and ultra rares, you can order them all separately, or you can get the complete set for 345 altogether. I wasn't sure if these were incremental. I was like, oh, is this the rares going to be the rares and the commons, and ultra rares going to be all three? But I was like, no, that's the complete set. So yeah, these would all be individual. Andy, it's not your fault. I just or for they it's clear how you labeled them. I just was trying to work it out in my head. We got there eventually. So yep, you can go ahead and get the pre-order, and then if you get the complete set, you get a $25 gift card as long as you order between now and Monday, June 17th at midnight. So if you are at 11:59, I guess. So midnight of June 18th is going to be too late if you are doing it at that point. So yep, the pre-order, it's going to be probably around September, sometime this fall. It'll be after Nationals. The initial release of the set will be at Nationals, which is where I assume Andy will be getting some of his product, maybe not all of it from Rob, but and then he'll be able to start filling orders at that point. So you can go ahead and do the pre-orders here. They also have a few spoilers down here. You can see these, and I'm not going to go through them right now, but if you want to see what they do, these are spoilers from the set, so you're going to have to go over to Your Turn Games and check those out. And if you go back to the booster packs, it's the same spoilers here, but you can get a display box, which is $102 on sale here, or you can just get one booster pack, or some quantity of those if you don't want a full box. But the full box is probably your best option because you're guaranteed to get one ultra rare in the box, as I guess has been for the most part throughout the throughout the last few sets. So that's something that you want to maybe guarantee that you're getting one of those instead of buying the packs individually. We can see that each booster pack contains 4 Israel's Inheritance cards, which you'd love to see 5 there, but with 129 card sets, it makes sense that there would be 4, which means that Of the 129 cards in the Israel's Inheritance set, you're going to be getting 4 times 24, so 96 of the cards in one box. So you're probably not going to get like a full set from just like one box plus a few other packs. I mean, obviously you're going to be getting some duplicates, and then you need to get lucky, I guess, with the ultra rares there. 3 boxes would be the minimum of boxes just to get you the whole set, as long as you get the 3 distinct ultra rares. But 1.5 boxes gets you 36 rares. So you would, I guess, rares or ultra rares. So you would, be pretty, or that would be the number of rares that are in the set. So, I like opening boxes, so that's usually what I go for. But if you're just wanting the deal of getting the complete set, then maybe that's the way you'll go. But you also get the roots cards in these as well. So you have 4 Israel's Inheritance cards and 5 roots cards, so 9 cards in each booster pack. So, anyways, go on over to Your Turn Games, and you can pre-order now. I haven't put in my pre-order yet, but I should probably do that so that I can. I don't know. I'm not a complete set guy, so I won't get the $25 gift card. But if you are into that, then you should go and do that before June 17th, because that's when the deal ends. All right, so then speaking of other announcements, more exciting things, I mentioned Nationals, but there is now a registration open for Nationals, and you can find that on the Cactus Forums page or post, I guess, for Nationals. I just closed that. I suppose I could have left that open. But this is what the registration page looks like. So just a Google form that you can fill out. And there is a bonus side event happening on Wednesday before Nationals, which is a Mr. Classic qualifier tournament. So this will be a classic tournament, type 1. So just pretty much all cards ever printed will be allowed except for banned cards. Here, no banned cards means like you aren't allowed to use cards that are banned. Doesn't mean that there are no cards that are banned for this format. The banned cards are still banned. You can't use them. So the top 2 places will get a Redemption Art deck box, which sounds pretty cool. It's not another playmat, which is kind of nice. I'm getting playmats are nice and all, but I've got too many, and I don't think I'm the only one in that boat. But here it says that the winner will also earn a seat at the Mr. Classic Invitational. Doesn't look like it's determined what the seating will be or anything like that, but it'll be one of 8 players at the Mr. Classic Invitational. Whatever the format ends up being for that is, I don't think it has been for sure determined at this point, but it'll be something with classic cards, something with the cards with the words on the art and the scroll text box there, or the scroll reference box there. So that is pretty exciting, something that Jay and Mark Valake have been working together to coordinate. So that is something that if you want to participate in, you're going to be able to get there in time on Wednesday evening, then you can go ahead and register for that. And then also the other events that you'll be playing on each of the days. Looks like Booster Draft is going to be 2 LOC, 2 GOC, and 2 Israel's Rebellion. And that's the first time I'm reading this. I haven't really thought about that yet, or like what that might look like, but that seems pretty good. I mean, the having 2 of each kind of gives you enough opportunity to get at least somewhat established into the theme that you'll want to play. But GOC kind of stands out a little bit, where if you're getting clay stuff, I mean, you'll get some clay in Israel's Rebellion, I guess, with the priests, but like the I don't know, the brigades are going to be interesting, or the themes are like GOC won't quite blend as well with the other sets. So, but GOC is just good by itself. So, yeah, that'll be cool. So booster draft be on Thursday alongside Type 2. I'm still undecided which one I want to play here, but we'll find out hopefully before August 1st. And then, of course, we've got Type 1 on Type 1 2-player on Friday with Top Cut. So I'm not sure if it's determined what the number for Top Cut will be. I suppose it'll probably be determined based on attendance, whether it'll be probably 8 it would be my guess. But if we get a huge turnout, everybody shows up, top 16 cut, we'll do it. Let's do it. And then we'll also have Type A there for kids 13 and younger. And they also have some stipulation normally of kind of minimal tournament experience, or they can't have won Type A before, I believe is a requirement. Type A at nationals, that is. So that's if you're not sure if your youngster is eligible, then you can reach out to Jay and figure that out. But yeah, Type A will be for younger players, and they give them an opportunity to compete on a more level playing field, maybe have a little more fun that way and not have to play quite as long. And then also on Saturday, we'll have sealed deck and teams. The sealed deck has you'll either get the K or L starter deck, and then be one POC, one Israel's Rebellion, and one Israel's Inheritance pack, which okay, so I guess you don't get to pick your packs. Everyone will get the same is what it looks like. And you get 3 when normally you only get 2 box packs to pick from, but in this case you'll have 3, so you'll have more decisions to make, I guess. So maybe do a little bit of planning ahead of time if you're playing sealed deck, take a look at the K and L starter decks and maybe kind of have an idea of what some cards are in the deck that I might be willing to more take out or put in reserve. You don't have a whole lot of time to build your deck, so you should, or to open your packs and to build your deck. So doing a little planning ahead of time will probably be beneficial for you, and also for everyone else at the tournament, not having to take up too much time there. So, all right. So go ahead and register for nationals if you are going to be there August 1st through 3rd, Allendale Baptist Church in Allendale, Michigan. I am planning to be there, so I hope to see you there as well. All right, now let's get into the decks. First, I'm going to go in order of operations here from what we did at the tournament. So Friday night we did booster draft, and this was the deck that I drafted. As I mentioned, we did 2 Israel's Rebellion, 2 Fall of Man, and 2 Prophecies of Christ. And of course they all had roots cards in them. And I was actually fairly pleased with the deck that I drafted. As you can see, I was fairly focused as far as my brigades go. I was in mostly blue on the offense. I got 7 blue heroes, and I tried to get a little bit of silver thing going as well, but somebody kind of started to also draft some silver, and there just weren't that many heroes and enhancements for silver going around in general, but I was able to get a few silver heroes and a couple enhancements and they all work well with Jacob here, who can bandit the angels. And I got a bunch of blue enhancements. Blue was pretty open at my table, so that worked out well for me. And then the defense, I tried to go a little bit. I kind of wanted to go a little bit more into brown because I had a Zeresh here, and then also I had another Zeresh, which I ended up putting in reserve, but just couldn't really find many brown enhancements. I ended up taking a Balaam's Disobedience kind of early, and so that sort of started pushing me into gray. I've got another Balaam's Disobedience later on, and had a few other decent gray battle winners. Idol Worship was pretty cool with Go into Captivity, and then I had Gideon's Ephod in reserve. I didn't have any Canaanites, I guess, to put Go into Captivity, or to actually use idol worship to go into captivity, but that I thought that it was kind of nice just to have some capture and some potential soul gen, because that was the thing that my deck was kind of lacking a bit, was soul gen. That was an issue for a couple of my games. So yeah, the rest of the deck it seemed pretty solid, cohesive, I guess. Looking at some of the other decks that were drafted, I was like, oh, well, there were some things left to be desired in mine. Where, like, I don't know, some of it I think was the draw was just kind of weird. Laban's down here because he's a good enhancement in Lackey right now. I gotta fix that, sorry. But yeah, the gray was decent, but I struggled to find my evil enhancements. Was a big thing, and I also, like, my defense just wasn't very big, I think, relative to what some of the other people were playing, which normally is fine, but if you're being soul routed, then that makes it more of a challenge. And yeah, I don't know. It worked out pretty well. I would have liked to have gotten a New Testament Gray enhancement for Emperor Otho, but unfortunately, the casting lots that I wanted to come back to me did not get passed. I was a little disappointed about that, but I don't think I think the choices that I made were correct in what I took. I don't regret not taking it when I had the opportunity, but I just wish it would have come back around. Give me a little bit more punch on the defense, I guess, because, like, I don't know, apparently I needed it, but yeah, the offense did really well outside of just not being able to generate lost souls. I kind of tried to mitigate that with, like, false prophecy to underdeck the non-lost souls when looking at my opponent's deck, or their top six, I guess. But yeah, it just wasn't quite there. I got a few decent lost souls from Fall of Man. I got Prosperity, ended up with Vindicated, got the Legacy Rare Wanderer, and also the Wicked. So, like, that was a pretty good lost soul draft, or, like, from a collecting standpoint. But yep, rest of the deck was pretty solid. First round I played against John Hendricks, and I went first. He didn't have any lost souls. I won the die roll, so I chose to go first so that John would draw first and hopefully draw some lost souls for me. He did not, so I didn't have any lost souls to rescue on my first turn, and I didn't really have much in the way of defense, so he was able to start getting some rescues. I think we both, well, I got one block, and he got one battle challenge block that punished me a little bit, took out my Jacob, and also negated the draw. So that was a little unfortunate, but he ended up winning 5-3 because I wasn't able to rescue the first two turns, and we both rescued at pretty much every opportunity, or almost every opportunity other than that. So that was it was just an offensive game, and I couldn't find the right answers at the right time. Like, I took out one of his heroes, or like one of his white heroes that he had enhancements for, and he found another one that had, like, the perfect amount of or like the perfect numbers to get an initiative against the evil character that I had. I don't remember. I think it was Emperor Otho, and he had he found his Amram, who was a 7/4, and so Emperor Otho had to block and made it mutual, and I had a Balaam's, but he had initiative first to play his battle winner, so that was a little unfortunate the way that game all worked out. And then I got paired up against Chris, I think. Yeah, I think I played Chris in the game after that, and then kind of did the same sort of thing where I won the die roll, got to choose to go first. He didn't have any lost souls. He didn't draw any on his first turn, so my first two turns I wasn't able to rescue. He was able to get through, and yeah, I just didn't find my evil enhancements in that game either, so I lost again 5-3 in pretty much the same exact fashion. And I guess I probably should have mentioned the fact that I pulled a Babel. That was kind of fun, getting that out of my Fall of Man pack. Pretty decent in booster draft. It's not really seeing much play in constructed categories now, but I thought that was pretty cool. And I also got an Egypt to tutor it up, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, anyways, lost the first two rounds, 5-3. And then the third round, I believe I played Luke Anderson. I played one of the Andersons. I'm pretty sure I played against Luke. I got them confused on Saturday too. Not that like I got them as individuals confused, because they're pretty unique individuals, I guess, or like they're fairly easy to distinguish when you're there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I played against Luke in booster draft, and then I played against Philip in Type 1. So yeah, that is. I'm pretty sure I only played each of them once in the different categories. So, anyways, played against Luke. Managed to kind of set up a little bit more. It was a little bit back and forth, but I won that game 5-3. I think I kind of flipped it around, and was able to get the win there. But the most epic part, I guess, of the whole draft was playing my game with Chris next to Jeremy and John, and just kind of glancing over here and there, and kind of hearing what they're talking about and whatnot. How John likes to talk, and and at one point in the game, he had pretty much given up hope. You look over and you see Jeremy's territory has just got all these big bombs for draft. Not a whole lot, but like just some cards that like, oh man, that one's really good, especially in draft, and like in this context, or like in these packs that we drafted, just pretty good. Like a King of Towers, a King Eglon. He got a Michael, I think a captain as well. I don't know. His pod was giving him everything, I guess. But yeah, so Jeremy was sitting pretty over there. I think he was up 3-0, and John comes in and he is able to sneak in a Lord Fights for You, I think is the gold one from Roots, that discards all evil characters. He wipes out Jeremy's entire defense, and he's then able to he gets one, and then he has to give up another one. So Jeremy's ahead 4-1, and I think John was just able to hide Lost Souls for the rest of the game, and he was able to come back and win 5-4. So that was pretty epic. And then when he played Chris in the last round, in the third round, just did not go well for him. Chris was able to win that game, and then Chris won booster draft. So that was pretty cool. I think John got second place then, and I want to say Jeremy got third. I'm not positive on the placings for that. I think there you can listen to the Threshing Floor for results on that. I'm sure he's got all of those on there. For the episode this past week, I haven't been able to give it a listen yet, but yeah, fun time playing booster. Here was my reserve. I used pretty much every card that I drafted, because I drafted those 4 Lost Souls. So it was these 10 cards, or the 50 cards in the deck, these 10 cards in reserve that I just put in there because I could access some of them. And then a Gibeonite Trickery was my last card that I did not use. But in theory, I could get Zeresh and Zilla out with Babel. I could get Joseph's House and Pitham out with Egypt. If there were Egyptians in play, I didn't have enough Egyptians in my deck for it, but if my opponent was playing them, I could do that. And then Gideon's Ephod could come out with Idol Worship, and Brothers Conflict could come out with Persian horses, or horsemen, I guess. So yeah, the rest of the cards couldn't really get out unless I could grab something from my opponent to do it, but I'd still just put them in reserve, because I don't know why people just, I don't know if it's just laziness, or just not feeling like it's going to matter enough to put the effort in. But you might as well just put cards in your reserve if you're doing a draft or a sealed, and you have cards that you can't use, but like maybe you can ban to one of your opponent's cards, and that'll get you something out of your reserve. Or maybe you have to one of your opponent's cards is like they can discard something from reserve instead, then you're gonna wish you had a card in your reserve that you could just discard. And so there are cases where it matters, and so I think from a competitive standpoint, you should always have a reserve. I can't really think of a reason not to, other than like if you think your opponent's gonna have something that can like take cards from your reserve. So I don't know. I always build a full reserve when I'm doing limited categories. The only thing that I maybe think I should have switched was Go Into Captivity with Gideon's Ephod, because Go Into Captivity I could have grabbed with both Idol Worship and Persian Horseman. Or maybe I should have put both of them in the main deck, but I thought Gideon's Ephod with the double Poison of Dragons would be kind of fun. It never really ended up working out because every time I played Idol Worship, it got negated. So, yeah, wasn't quite good there. But anyways, Type 1, let's go and check out what was being played over there. Over here on Land of Redemption, you can get the Southeast Regionals Type 1 deck list that Babooni Tim posted shortly after the tournament here. So you can see the deck that Jeremy played. He ended up getting first with this. It's kind of like it's a Disciples, but with Transfiguration, but still just sort of like GOC good stuff, I guess. And then Philistines with Herdsman, and also Nero and Generius. So pretty straightforward list. It's similar to the one that he played, or one that he's been playing for a while, I guess, using Transfiguration. He's got Elijah and Glory in the reserve, and then the Bomb Moses. So it's because of Moses Matthew is what he normally calls it. So Bomb with an extra M. So that is the deck that Jeremy played. He and I had a pretty good game in the second to last round. In the third round, I made a pretty crucial mistake in the final round where I used my woes to negate his storehouse to try to do a little hand control kind of stuff. And I should have just left my woes on his Send the Helper, which is what I had been negating. If I had done that, then he would not have been able to bounce his Simon, or he wouldn't have been able to get his Eternal Inheritance, so I think I would have been able to block him that turn. And so instead of us tying 4-4, he ended up winning 5-3. So that was how that game ended, and I was like, oh man, if I had just thought about that, thought that he was lower on resources and low on ways to reset his Simon to choose the blocker, then I should have just left the woes on Send the Helper and not worried about the storehouse. So that is how that game shook out. But I first played a game against Philip. The deck that I'm playing was kind of similar to what you saw in Jeremy's list there, except this uses a Nazareth control, I guess, part instead of Moses getting set up. So this is basically just a turbo Nazareth deck where you got your disciples and whatever, try to get everything set up, get a Matthew, and then do some banding, play Resurrection to get in Peter, get Herod's Temple out, and then also Nazareth. But it also is what I'm calling Nazcalon, because it's a Nazareth deck with the Ashkelon combo in reserve. And on top of that, I was like, you know what, we're already partway there because we can play Nicanor and Widow's Tables. Why not put Grain Offering and the Mimicking Miracles combo in reserve as well? So that was pretty much the entire reserve, was just 10 cards that were all parts of two different combos, that once my opponent dealt with Nazareth, then I could just use Concealed Riches to pull out one or both of the combos and pull off either one, and assume that they don't have enough other resources to interact with one or both of the combos, and then I could kind of take control of the game from there. In hindsight, neither of the combos really mattered. Like the Ashkelon, I sort of got off once, and that was actually what I was trying to do against Jeremy when I negated his storehouse with 3 woes to take out his hand protection. That was because I was thinking that I would be able to get Ashkelon running and do the combo there, but I actually was a card short in the yeah, it just didn't quite work out to where I would be able to cycle it, so I was only able to get rid of 1 card from his hand, and yeah, it definitely wasn't worth it there. I think I had to draw. Oh no, yeah, I didn't even go with Matthew or anything, so I didn't have any other reason um, to deal with his storehouse really. So yeah, I don't know. It didn't really, yeah, didn't work out that way. But I think this deck doesn't really need the combos here in reserve, and would probably be better off just having, kind of the regular, Eternal Inheritance and other sort of offense backup, and then a little more defense backup in reserve there, so that if they deal with Nazareth, then I just have a little bit more power to keep, churning out, um, battle power, I guess, or battle influencers. But yeah, and this was just an idea I had that I thought would be kind of fun if I could get off the combo just in any one of the games. That would have been pretty cool. But in the games where I would have been able to get it off, I didn't really need to in order to win. So, and the game that I really wanted to get it off, but I just didn't quite sequence things right, was my round 1 game against Philip Anderson, who he was playing I think he was playing Disciples with a Pharisees and like me Colossal defense, and I had control of the game from the get go. Had a really good opener set up with the Matthew and everything, the whole bit, and I get to 3 Lost Souls. I have I think I got to 3 with playing Son of God, and I had I think I'm pretty sure I just played one of them, not both. Maybe, or no, never mind. I hadn't played either, I think. Um, and anyway, I was able to, I'd gotten through my entire deck, and Philip had played Harvest Time, got all of his Lost Souls out, and was able to get a Burial out before I was able to get everything in place to finish the game off with the big 2. It was something like that, pretty close to where either I needed to rescue one more naturally, or I just needed to play the big 2, but hadn't gotten to them yet. So either way, he got to his Burial and was able to put all those Lost Souls on the bottom, and I had already sped through everything, so my Lost Souls was in play and not going to be triggering again, because even if his Lost Souls did come out, he was playing New Testament Meek Lost Souls, so that didn't really, that wasn't going to trigger my token generator, and I didn't put Hopper in the deck, so yeah, that was not a wise move for me. And unfortunately, between his storehouse and my Nazareth, I just wasn't able to get the pieces together in time in order to generate Lost Souls from his deck the hard way, which was I ended up using Concealed Riches to shuffle my entire reserve into my deck, because my deck was empty at that point, and I just wanted to try to get to something without losing too many resources from my hand. And if I had played things a little bit differently, I would have been able to set up the side battle and be able to play Confusion to discard a Lost Soul from Philip's deck, and also then play Mimicking Miracles to copy Confusion. But because of his storehouse, and because of my Nazareth, and because I had used Shipwreck on, I think, his Herod's Temple sort of early on when I didn't need to, it was a little bit wasteful. Like, he put Storehouse down the very next turn. I was like, oh no. So yeah, a combination of those led to me not being able to generate Lost Souls, even with Confusion, where I would be discarding the Lost Souls from his deck, which puts them in play and then lets me play my Son of God and Second Coming, or just Son of God, and make a rescue attempt. So that was a little unfortunate. We ended up timing out, and he almost got me. He did get up to 4 because I just he kind of started drawing into the offense that I hadn't let him play early on, and I didn't have a whole lot to block with, and he ended up drawing like one too many cards pretty much, which was even that was kind of hard to do because I had a Nicanor out in play. That was kind of hurting me because he wasn't drawing as much, and he ended up drawing into one Lost Soul, so I was able to, or on an attack, so I was able to play Son of God to tie it up 4-4 before the timer ran out. So that was a fairly exciting game. Definitely showed the flaw in this deck and the lack of soul gen. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I think I could have played that better and gotten there. And so maybe I can blame it on my inexperience with the deck or what I was trying to do with the stuff in reserve. But really, I'm the only one to blame there. And the third place deck here was probably the most interesting deck, or like the most exciting deck, I guess. That's not just like GOC good stuff. Like, I mean, I guess I kind of was a little exciting with the combos here in reserve, but the gameplay wasn't all that exciting because I didn't really get to use them much. So anyway, the Sam Tierce was there, and he played this kind of blue Patriarchs list with some, not even like just Philistines defense, just kind of like a Giants defense, which kind of a little bit similar to my Priestly Giants deck, or the defense that I have in there, which was actually a deck that I brought with me, and because of that, we just tweaked our decks a little bit for teams to play together because we both had kind of the same defense. Thought that would be kind of fun. Give Jeremy and John at least a little bit of a challenge, or maybe at least think that they were going to have a challenge. Didn't really turn out that way. But yeah, so this was the deck that Sam played. He had a few, I think he had a timeout win and a timeout tie, and then he was able to get the full win at the end in order to pull just ahead of John Hendricks. So, and I believe he started the last rescue attempt with Eliezer as we were sitting there watching, and John was like, oh man, if he wins this, he gets it. He gets the third place, and he was like, well, at least it was with Eliezer. Like, Eliezer was going in there. I don't think he ended up actually getting the soul because somebody, there was a grapes or a Yoramain or something like that had to be used. But that was kind of funny. So anyway, cool deck from Sam. A little more creative than the GOC good stuff, and glad to see that he was able to do well with it. Get in the top 3. And again, sorry that I didn't mention your name at the beginning. It was good to see you too. All right, so that was type 1. Then we played teams. As I mentioned, I teamed up with Sam. Jeremy and John teamed up, and John had his team's deck together. Apparently Jeremy didn't really have his together, but they were playing decks that were pretty similar to this, except John was running the Fools and stuff in there so that they could get the Choose the Blocker combo going on, or combos going on, and Jeremy ended up just playing this deck. They tweaked the Dominance and Lost Souls a little bit as needed, but yeah, it was kind of if you were watching the game, you'd probably just turn it off because it'd be hard to watch. Yeah, John opened up with a Fool that I thought that, which made it pretty easy for them to choose the blocker on the first turn, but it was even worse than that because Jeremy was able to go to Matthew originally, and even though I had Stricken, the star ability on Stricken right at the beginning, and I suppose I could pull these cards up just so people who aren't familiar know what I'm talking about. I had the star ability on Stricken. You can't see that yet. there we go. I had the star ability Unstricken that I activated in the initial, or like turn 0, as Jeremy decided to go first. And he, I was thinking, all right, that's good. We can stop Matthew. But he did have a Crowd's Lost Soul out, which was protecting his hand. And so by the time he went into battle, his hand and deck would be protected from the star ability Unstricken, the protection there, which means that we'd have to get rid of this. Fortunately, Sam had Son of God, so he was able to play that before Jeremy attacked in order to make sure that Stricken would work and Matthew wouldn't be able to draw cards. Unfortunately, Jeremy also had Storehouse, so Sam asked for Dominish. He played the Son of God, rescued Crowds, and then Jeremy put down Storehouse right after that. We were just kind of like, well, it's a bummer. So then not only did Jeremy have the Matthew, he also had Crowd's Choice, which he could play to go to Simon. He had Resurrection in hand naturally, so he played that. Chose Simon to abandon Simon, who chose the Fool to block that I had no enhancements for. He got a little bit of other drawing. He played Son of God. He played Second Coming. He had Ride On Victoriously in his hand that he revealed with John's toss ability, I think. And so I think that was... It ended up being where he played for dominance on his first turn, had the fifth one in hand, but it wasn't needed. So yeah, that was pretty rough. Then I go to my turn. I'm playing the priest deck, like I mentioned, and I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I've got a decent attack here. I've got Trumpet Blast, which is CBP. I've got Angel of the Lord, and a couple other enhancements. I've got Captive Priest, so I can choose what priest I want to go to. And I'm like, all right, well, I want to get a little bit of speed. I'll just go to Zadok, and I decided to reserve an OT card to negate enhancements and then get the draw 2. And of course, Jeremy has Nero, which, I don't have the Sin Offering to negate it or anything, and my other enhancements that would be able to negate it were negated by Zadok, and Angel of the Lord wasn't going to work against Nero as well. So that was kind of a disappointing interaction. We get to Hendrix's turn. He drops the another Fool. I play Angel of the Lord on it, thinking like, all right, we're no more of this choose the blocker stuff. And of course, he puts on Golgotha, searches for Possessing Spirit, and places that in my territory and is able to do the choose the blocker thing, get Possessing Spirit to block. I got nothing for that. Fortunately, Sam did rescue another Lost Soul on his turn. He was able to make a successful rescue, so that was cool. We got up to 2, but Jeremy was able to finish it off on his turn. So that was not much else to be seen with that game. But then with Type 2, I played pretty much the same deck that I played at the Kentucky State Tournament, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the deck there, or about this deck. So this is the list that I played at the Kentucky State Tournament. If you watch that video, you recognize this. I did change a few things. I only had one copy of Nazareth, wherever it is. There it is. I only have one copy of Nazareth in the deck. And at that point, and I was like, I should probably have another one just in case they deal with it. And I also wanted to add another Resurrection Revealer, because it's really the only reason I didn't have 3 in the deck at Kentucky State was because I didn't have 3 of them with me. There was a little bit of poor planning there. So I ended up cutting a Messianic Messenger, cutting Michael Chief Prince and Captain to add another Nazareth, to add another Resurrection Revealer, and I added one other, maybe another enhancement or something. Can't remember for sure. But those were the main changes that I made. I left the defense pretty much the same, and I think one thing that I would change later is maybe cutting these deceitful sins. I don't know. Like it just, I think there's, two of them in the deck, and I think I drew 3 out of the 4 between the 2 games that I played against Jeremy, and or in all cases, I just never was able to play it anytime. Like, it doesn't help that I didn't draw into the masks very often, and I think those were what make Deceitful Sin good or make it playable, is that I have mask to get the 4 toughness, play next to get into the Deceitful Sin for the end of the battle. But yeah, I don't know. It's might be better off as something else. Maybe just more copies of Pilfer or Hurling Insults. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that you kind of want if you aren't like fully into thieves, because I've got Rebel, Simon the Magician, and Sapphira, so I'm not, I guess, Silly Women as well. So I'm not 100% into thieves, and most of their enhancements want to be used by thieves, like Pilfer and Purloin and all that. But yeah, I don't know. That might be something to consider. And then Jeremy kind of recalibrated a little bit from Kentucky State and switched up his defense to a demon defense, which is definitely, I would say, the best equipped defense to deal with Nazareth decks, and even work alongside Nazareth if you build it right. The way that Jeremy did it was actually pretty cool. He had a few tech things in there to be running his own Nazareth and be able to work around it as needed. Demons have a lot of good answers for that, with like Sordid Spirit and Deafening Spirit, things like that, where you can negate Nazareth and then or forward so that you can take the opportunity to search and play around it and whatnot, and then not really give that opportunity to your opponent. So in the tournament game, it was a very grindy game, as you might expect between a couple of Nazareth decks, and I got off to a pretty good start, and unfortunately it just kind of slowly dwindled, I guess, like just wasn't able to capitalize on the advantage as well as I should have, and I've made a pretty crucial mistake that even like hurts to talk about or think about now, but I was attacking with Michael, and Jeremy had played Driven by Spirits with no placed orange cards in play, so he wasn't able to search through his deck, but he was able to underdeck Driven by Spirits, and he had 2 copies of Choked Seed in hand. He played one of them to place on Michael, which preventing enhancements on Michael doesn't matter because enhancements used by him cannot be negated, and then he played the second Choke Seed, which would then let him draw 1 from the top and 1 from the bottom. And I was like, oh, I don't want him to start doing the Driven by Spirits loop, because now that he drew Driven by Spirits off of the bottom, he'd be able to actually search deck with it because he has a placed orange card in play. So let me put Michael into chamber. And I was thinking that like the Driven by Spirits loop was going to do a lot more damage than it actually was. I didn't have any defense in play, so I wasn't going to be underdecking any characters in my territory, because I also had chamber out, and so all my angels in territory I could just put into chamber. So yeah, for some reason I was thinking that Driven by Spirits lets you just like underdeck a card, and so I was thinking that he would be able to hit my Nazareth, my Bethlehem Stable, or even my chamber, and I was like, oh yeah, I can't afford to take all this damage. But no, it only underdecks characters, and my characters would have been just fine. My Michael would have been just fine. I had plenty of enhancements that I could play to negate and stop him. And fortunately for me, Jeremy forgot to put Suicidal Swine Stampede in his orange defense, and so that wasn't going to be an option for him either. So I definitely would have won that battle, and a couple turns later, we ran out of time. Jeremy ended up winning 4-3. So should have been a 4-4 tie, but I blew it. I threw it away. So but yeah, he was able to get to his Son of God at the end there and pull ahead. A little bit of a letdown, but like I mentioned before, we did get the casual game and or the fun game in later at the game shop, and we didn't have a timer on that one. I'm kind of curious where the timer would have put us at the end there, like because we were pretty much neck and neck for the entire game, just going back and forth. And for that one, I was able to finish it off, get my Son of God, and kind of pull ahead right at the end because I was I think technically on a turn ahead with the tempo, assuming like we both had our both got to our dominance eventually. But he got up to 6 first with his Second Coming still somewhere in his deck, and I was able to get to 7, I think, without needing to get to my Second Coming. Basically, it was like I had the Annunciation in hand, and if I had an opportunity to play it during battle, I could go get my Second Coming, play that for the 7th, or I could just win the battle and get the 7 that way. So that was a pretty crazy game. We ended up with Jeremy's Gabriel and my Expatriator both having. I think Gabriel got up to 8, and I guess at the very end, Gabriel got up to 9, and my Expatriator got up to 8 experience credit because we were just banding to each other's back and forth and just couldn't stop them. So that was pretty fun. Definitely the most experience credit I think I have ever seen on a character. If you're not familiar with experience credit in Type 2, if your character is successful in battle, it gets a +1/+1 counter basically. And so yeah, had an Expatriator that was almost up to 20 strength. Kind of crazy. So yeah, I think Jeremy took a picture of that, but I don't have it to share. But it was pretty neat. Very fun game. So anyways, that was Type 2. That was, I think now I'm going to have to recalibrate or think things a little bit to make sure that I can better deal with the demons. I mean, the angels are pretty well suited for it. Like Expatriator is gonna be your friend here, and the Expelled from Heavens are both pretty good. So I think I can maybe adjust things just to be a little bit more well prepared for that. But that I think is something that I will have to look into before Nationals. These Great White Thrones came in quite handy. Definitely some of the MVPs of both of those games. So that'll be if you're ever dealing with an orange defense and you don't know how to best handle the placed stuff in territory, Great White Throne is a pretty good way to do it. So, anyways, that is pretty much all I got to mention. I think with the tournament, I got through all of the notes that I had for this. There was enough stuff that I figured notes would be helpful. But yeah, it was a very fun tournament. I'm glad I was able to go. Did end up being a little bit more expensive than I was hoping it to. I think part of that was the rental car and stuff, but that's all right. I was willing to make that expense, and it was a good time. I have no regrets at all. Very fun weekend. So glad for the Southeast letting me crash their party and go to that regional tournament. And I encourage you that if you're able, available for time wise and family wise, financially and everything, to make it to some big tournaments that maybe a few states away or something at some point, and just crash a tournament like that. I'd encourage you to try it out sometime. Most of the people in this community are very friendly and willing to host and help, and I got a little bit of a tour of the city and stuff, so it's very cool. Make sure you give them at least some heads up. But yeah, it was a fun time, and I would encourage people to try that out if you're able. So anyways, that is all I have for this week's video. check us out next week as we get back into Lackey Grand Prix gameplay. We'll be now in Lackey Grand Prix 16, which is being done in 2 pods of, I believe, 10 players each. Or no, it's 12 players each, 2 pods of 12, so 6 games going on. And then the top cut, once those rounds are done, is going to be the top 2 players from each of the 12 pods. It just kind of saves some time as far as the like number of rounds and that kind of stuff. I guess I don't know. I don't know how, like, it's if it's that much different. I think we're just doing 4 rounds, and then it's the top 4 after that. I don't know if we would have done 5 with just a 24 player tournament. I suppose we would have had to do 5 with the 24 player tournament in order to have a decisive winner. But I mean, if we're doing top cut too, then 4 would have been okay. So I don't know. It's just something that we're trying, and I kind of like the way it's looking so far. So if you are in the Lucky Grand Prix, good luck. Hope to see you in there. If you're in pod 1, I guess maybe we'll play. But round 1 is already underway, and that video will be posted next week for you guys. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up there, and we'll catch you all next week.